week before the ceremony. She lived several hundred miles away for school but came back to her hometown 2 weeks before the wedding to make sure everything was lined up and have her bachelorette party. In the course of her visit, she came across an old boyfriend, who was also engaged, and things sparked up again. They agreed they should each leave their fiancés and give their relationship another shot. Turns out, he didn't keep up his end of the bargain. And she is still single today. I see a lot of bachelor and bachelorette parties in my line of work. I actually have a few of these memories. The first that comes to mind was an interesting night where the bachelor party was happening at one bar and the bachelorette party was in the bar down the block. At the groom-to-be's party I get a call for help from the place. It's a tame security call. Just a couple getting it on in a bathroom. The bar wanted them booted. I find out the dude is the groom-to-be and the girl is just some random chick. The chick goes off on her own and now I'm with the groom outside. He's drunk and almost uncontrollable. I am trying to find him a way home safe. His bros were all cheaty and kept the party going without him. After a while, the bride-to-be and her gals come walking down the street. A couple people around chime in and tell her why I am there dealing with him. She breaks down and calls the wedding off right there. He ended up going to detox that night. A friend of mine in college had been engaged to her high school sweetheart. Plan was for them to get married after she graduated. She was one of those that dreamed of her wedding since she was a little girl. She had been planning forever. A week before the wedding, he leaves without a trace. Except a note saying I can't marry you. She was devastated. We still had a party with a wedding cake, food, etc. because it had all been paid for already. Saddest party ever. She ran into him a few years later at an 80s dance club wearing a mesh shirt and a taxi hat making out with a dude. Saw it coming. I know a guy who seemingly had his life together, great career, lots of friends, beautiful fiancée. He had a tendency to drink too much while partying. And a few weeks before the wedding he woke up in the hospital with serious injuries due to a non-automotive drunken accident. The scariest part for him was that he didn't remember a thing past leaving the party to walk home. Did he fall and hit his head? Did someone attack him and leave him for dead? The thought of that scared him. And he decided to sober up. It also caused him to reflect on his life. And he realized his fiancée was manipulative, controlling. And he'd never be happy living with someone like that. He has some long-term damage from the injury. But he's still sober. Spends much of his free time for a charitable cause. And dodged a serious bullet, a bad marriage, as a result of that horrible injury, so he oddly came out ahead in the end. Not because of the party. But day of the wedding, groom's family is patiently waiting. Bride's family hasn't shown. Bride's mother finally arrives and says that bride has discovered groom has a second fiancé in another state and wedding is off. Rehearsal dinner photos on Facebook and someone tagged the wrong girl assuming that was his fiancé he had been talking about. Except it was the other fiancé. So bride see her tagged as someone else and messages from out of town friends about can't wait to meet her, why wasn't I invited? My dad and his friends took a buddy bike canoe to an island to get drunk the night before the wedding. He told them all he didn't want to go through with it but couldn't figure out how to get out of it. When he woke up in the morning, they had stranded him on the island. He missed the wedding. His buddies were branded as the jerks. Groom-to-be was relieved. My wife had a friend whose fiancé called off the wedding after he found out she had been with a black guy, years before they even started dating. Gotta love it when the trash takes itself out. One of the groomsmen got into a huge fight with the groom because he brought up the fact that his future wife cheated on him a few years prior. This is true. But it was water under the bridge by that point. Anyway. Groom got really angry and said don't bother coming, then started reconsidering the marriage at all. Anyway. The next day they had sobered up and apologized to each other, so the wedding went ahead. She did in fact cheat on him in the end several years later though. My close friend from high school thought it would be a good idea to marry this so handsome and mature guy about 15 years older than her after only knowing him for 6 months. didn't have a problem with the age as I prefer older men myself. But with that being said, I know some of those men only seek after girls our age because of their immaturity. It was the Wednesday before their bachelor parties and the three of us were having dinner at one of her and I's favorite spots together. I guess his order of well done steak came out improperly cooked and he just lost it on the waiter. Demanded the chef in front of him to basically berate and call him incompetent and unable to do his job in a Michelin star awarded kitchen. I look up at my good friend and she is just borderline tears. I'm guessing going over every little tick or remark he's made in the past and then imagining a future with him. She called it off after the bachelor parties. He probably ducked the stripper anyway. It was a month before my scheduled wedding and I was getting everything ready. In the meantime, all of my close friends in my wedding party came out to celebrate my bachelor party with some drinking, floating, skydiving, etc. Well, the night before they get there, my now ex-fiancée of 8 years says that she no longer wants to go through with the wedding. So I spend the morning my friends are there calling around to friends, family, reservation services and explaining the news, completing blindsided. Come to find out she had cheated on me and had been feeling that way for a while but didn't share this with me until the day of my birthday, the day before my friend's visit for a few days. Needless to say, the plans changed a bit and it turned into my birthday party instead. Was pretty awful, but I ended up having a good time with best friends. Much happier now with my soulmate and so thankful that things worked out the way they did. A friend of mine sent me a video of another friend, let's call him Peter. The video showed Peter's girlfriend's bachelorette party. On the vid sniffing coke from a stripper's big dick and ducking him after. Peter is single now. I always wonder how people get to the engaged portion of a relationship with someone like this. This could not have been the first sign that she wasn't marriage material. Could it? Happened in May. Wife's side of family. Bachelorette party. 2 strippers. Gets crazy. Bride was drinking but not drunk. Then she vanishes. Her bridal party, including her sister, sister-in-laws, cousin-in-laws, cousins, and my wife's sister head back to the hotel to find her. And they do, in bed with one of the strippers who happened to be a black guy. Not thinking that she could have possibly consented to this. They called the cops and rape charges were filed. Cops arrest the dude. Wedding gets cancelled because how can you have a wedding 3 days after the bride was viciously raped? She doesn't add up. Detective on the case sees what is up and basically tells bride in front of her mom about false allegations. Mom flips out. Threatens to sue. Bride looks like sheet. Comes clean privately to detective. Mom still believes her little princess was raped. Couple got married at courthouse a few weeks later. No clue what her husband thinks. I only met the dude once and not since the events. Hope to never see either again. I wasn't there. But my dad cancelled his wedding about a week before. I was like 7 years old and devastated. She was a nice woman. I really liked her. But I had no idea why he called it off. A few months ago, I was 13. I asked and he told me that she was really nosy and also secretive for herself. She went to therapy once a week and never told him why. She also stayed homesick just to check through his laptop to see if he had anything he didn't want her to see. He had already divorced in the past and he just decided he didn't want to live this way for the rest of his life. So he called off the wedding. I bartend weddings fairly often and work directly with wedding planners all the time and meet with the bride and groom-to-be to talk things through and create a sense of familiarity. Each time I met the groom he just kind of seemed out of it, but I chalked it up to stress. Day of the wedding, before the ceremony, the wedding planner comes over and asks for a couple shots for herself. She doesn't drink on job, so I ask her why. Apparently things were about to get started but the groom was missing and wasn't responding to phone calls, so everyone is looking for him. Then one of the bridesmaids disappears. Not long after, the brother of the groom gets a text from the groom saying he and the bridesmaid are in love and they're running away to elope and that he'll call him after. Everyone is getting antsy waiting for things to start and they've all been waiting like 2 hours. Now the wedding planner has to tell 150 people that the wedding is off and explain to the parents what happened while the wedding party is consoling the bride. Bachelor party went on a cruise and never left the ship. Ate too much and drank a lot. Meanwhile the bachelorette party went to Vegas. The bride banged one of the strippers and two of the bridesmaids hooked up with old boyfriends who just happened to be there. The wedding never happened. But the bridesmaids are now both engaged to their respective boyfriends, the ones that they cheated on, and planning a double bachelorette party in, you guessed it, Las Vegas. Edit, a word. Well, it wasn't a bachelor party, but a couple months before the wedding it was discovered she was leading a double life. Her frequent work trips to the UK were actually trips to a few-hour drive away where she was living with another guy. Telling him the same story but in reverse. Wedding was called off. Much money was lost. Not sure what her plan was. The bride's brother, having attended the husband's bachelor party, twisted and exaggerated every detail of the bachelor party to make the husband look bad to her parents in an attempt to deflect attention away from his pill addiction. The hunt even bought his breakfast the morning after the party. Yeah, no. 'Cause he is such a great guy. A family friend called off their destination wedding about 1 week from the date. Her whole side of the family already had the venue paid for, food and drinks booked, and their tickets all bought, so they still flew there and just had a big party. Her dad hated the guy she was marrying, and no one else liked him either. So they were a lot happier at this party than they would have been at a wedding. Both parties happened same night, same location, as they didn't trust each other. Bachelorette and her maid of honor snuck off mid-party to go upstairs to a room they booked to have sex with some random people. Don't worry, the bachelor was a scum too. At some point during their relationship he poked holes in condoms so she'd get pregnant and stay. You know. Sometimes I get pretty bummed that I'm probably gonna die alone. These stories make me feel a little better. Late to the party. But there's this one girl in my town who hired a male stripper for her bachelorette party. So she and her friends got drunk. Naked. Ducked the stripper and snorted coke from his big dick. Worst thing is, they were so stupid to film everything and the video made it viral on local WhatsApp. Needless to say, there was no wedding. Military idiot in my old unit had a bachelor party at a very nasty strip club and ducked a stripper, hooker, in front of his buddies in the private room. Of course, word about this spread like wildfire in the unit and confirmed by the dozen of guys that were in the room when it happened. Military spouses gossip and talk, and soon the wife found out and they were divorced less than a month later. I'm still friends with the groom on FB and he is still an idiot. I remember one. The groom and the future bride lived together in a nice condo. He was really close with his best friend. And apparently, so was she. Anyways, they have a party before their wedding and everyone's there. Even the future mother-in-law, who miraculously survived her breast cancer. They announce they're expecting. And everyone celebrate with cake on the patio. To which the girl and the best friend decide to make out on the couch instead. The groom catches them. And the two fight in front of everyone. Later after the party, he trashes the condo. Steals her red dress and shoots himself in the bedroom. I was working as a bouncer one time and the bride and groom decided it would be a good idea to throw their bachelorette parties on the same night in the same town. I guess they must have been from out of town. Anyways, it's the night before the wedding. Which is not a good night to get hit and drunk. Both parties wind up at my bar at the same time. Groom catches the bride doing body shots off a dude and kissing him. So he gets jealous and grabs the bride. They get into it and he gets rough with her. So grabbed the dude to drag him out and he and his friends decided it would be extra fun to try and fight a bunch of pissed off sober bouncers. We beat the hell out of him and his friends while some of the other staff kept the girls held back. Cops showed up and he got hauled off. None of us wanted to press charges. I'm 99.99% positive the wedding didn't go through. I work weddings and since I bartend in the porch I use the back entrance and side entrance away from all the people. I once was carrying glasses to my bar and I saw the maid of honor finger banging the bride. Not just normal fingering, it looked like she was trying to start her lawnmower. I didn't say anything and the wedding went normally. So they might still be married. Boring story since I have no idea what the story is, but I'm a wedding musician and I was driving to the rehearsal when I got a phone call from the coordinator. I used a hands-free device, saying don't come. The wedding's off. It was weird. And it's why my contract requires a non-refundable 50% deposit now. So this was a crazy one. My boyfriend was the best man at his friend's wedding and told me this story after he got back from the bachelor party. One of the groomsmen, we'll call him Eric, from high school got wasted before they went out and told the groom, we'll call him Michael, that his soon-to-be wife was a terrible person and he can't believe that Michael would marry her because he thought he loved him, Eric. Turns out, they had been having a gay affair for 3 years behind his fiancee's back, but Michael was too afraid to tell his friends and family, so he kept up the facade of a straight man so he wouldn't be cut off from his trust fund. Michael first told the groomsmen that Eric was crazy and kicked him out of the hotel they were staying at, but called him later to meet up at a bar where they made out and left together. My boyfriend said they had no idea where they went that night, but Eric and Michael came back to the hotel the next day confessing that they loved each other, and Michael proceeded to call his family and fiancé with the news and cancel the wedding. Some crazy shit.